Welcome back. You're watching Weekend Express, and every weekend, rather Sunday, we tell you about inspiring personalities on Beyond the Scars who have been through it all, who have taken life's lemons and made lemonade out of it, and of course are here to inspire you to do better with whatever circumstance that life has dealt you. And today we're joined by Ezekiel Mutungi, who has been through it all. I don't want even to belabor the point. I don't even want to get into the details. I'll start with just allowing you to tell your story. You, at the age of 17, you were diagnosed with meningitis. Is this where your story begins?
Well, let me start by greeting our viewers this morning. It's a very bright morning. And we welcome them all the way from the whole country to stream live and listen to this very inspiring story about Beyond the Scar. Many other times I do watch, I do listen, myself is listening. So I've been listening to this platform and I know that many Kenyans have been greatly inspired.
Yes, this is true.
And this morning I'm also here to do the same, to inspire people and tell people that there is a lot that we Kenyans are gifted to do. So my story, to begin with, my story doesn't begin from 2007 because I was born back in the year 1990.
All about it.
Yes, being born in a family of 5 boys, that is back in 1990. And from this family, we started, or my parents started family issues, family conflicts since I was a child. So my life from the time, from the word go, brought up like in that kind of environment where it's not conducive for a child to grow up. I'm the first born in that family of 5 boys. And the story starts when I remember very well that at the age of 2 years, my father and my mother separated.
At this age, were you aware of the nature of their conflict? What was causing it?
Since I was a little child, the story actually the story was narrated to me by my grandmother when I was at around 4 years. But you can imagine now I grew up seeing my cousins with their fathers and their mothers, but to me it was vice versa. So I'm told that they separated when I was 2 years. And life actually started being a bit difficult because I'm told my mother never got a meaningful education. She doesn't even have a meaningful job. And my father the same. So, and after that while, I remember very well because the late grandmother, the mother to my mother, is the one who was telling me all this story because she saw everything that was happening to me and to my life. So at the age of 4 years, I'm told that I was carried from my grandfather's home, that is in Embu, all the way to Chuka because my mama comes from Chuka. So, and that time mama had ran away for her life.
It was that bad?
It was a bit serious then and bad. So mama left me with my grandfather and my father. But now, because my father wanted to explore more, I think that is when now he decided to migrate from that place to go and look maybe for greener pastures. So he had no option than to take me back to my mother's cradle home, which is in Chuka. So the fascinating part of my story is that my father went and dropped me along the way. Yes, he never took me to the hands of my grandmother.
Along the way where?
Along the way, just on the way to my grandmama's place. Yeah, he dropped me there.
At the age of 4? At
the age of 4 with my small bag. And he was driving. I think then he had a car. He had probably hired that car. And he promised that, let me go buy a bread for you. I've never gotten that bread to date.
You're still waiting for the bread.
So I'm still waiting for that bread. So a passerby is the one that saw there's a child who has been dropped there. And then the vehicle just left.
So at this time, you're not even familiar with this environment?
I was not very familiar because it was rare.
And you're a 4-year-old anyway.
And I was just a 4-year-old child. So that passerby came and so I looked familiar in a way.
Yeah.
So, and thank God that the grandma was around. So the passerby is the one that took me to the hands of my grandmother.
Okay.
That is at the age of 1994. So I clearly remember very well actually the pain of my story, it is like started from that time. Because I used to ask grandma, why is it that mama is not here?
Okay.
And remember those days we didn't have phones. There were no mobile phones. So no one knew where mama was. And my father has just told me, I'm going to buy you a bread and then I'll be coming back.
Yeah.
So I used to ask my grandmother, how comes that my cousins have their fathers, have their mothers, they are eating well, and for us, with my grandma, we are just, struggling with life because she was an elderly lady.
Yes.
So we used to struggle a lot. I was fested with jiggers to my hands and even the legs because there was no one to take care of my hygiene in a way.
Yeah.
So with that grandma, I asked that question for quite a while. And then I remember Mama came one of the December, that is around 1996. And I persistently told my mother I want her to take me to my father because I knew Baba had a vehicle.
Yeah.
And he promised to buy me bread. You know, those years, bread was valuable.
Yes.
So Mama had no option than to start now looking for ways to look for my father because I am told that she traveled to Embu to look for my to look for my father.
Right.
But fortunately, he had left for greener pastures.
Oh, okay.
So he left for another place that was unknown to my mother, nor to me, nor even to the grandfather.
Okay.
So later on, by God's grace, Mama traced where he was, and we made arrangement that it is 1997, during the El Nino period. This is when now we traveled all the way to Nanyuki.
Okay.
1997. Remember now I'm just growing, but with so many questions in my head. I thought probably one day somebody would answer those questions.
Yeah.
So when we went to Nanyuki, we started life, and actually one of the dawns is that I started seeing my mother being beaten up.
By your dad?
Yeah, by my dad.
Okay.
But again, I remember Mama telling me, because at least I could understand something by that time.
Yeah.
Mama, the idea that Mama had was to go live me with my dad and then leave for Nairobi because she was staying in Nairobi. That's where she was working. But people say love is blind. For this, I don't know whether it was blind or what it was. So
she was being abused, but she kept.
Yeah, she kept. She persevered for a little while. But one day I witnessed. My father was a farmer, so he was working in the farmyard, and because Mama had carried her salon kit. So I remember one evening they were discussing, and I heard Baba saying that you don't have to be in a hurry. Anyway, we can, otherwise maybe we can sell these items for the time being. We buy chemicals for the plants.
Whose items? The salon kit?
Yeah, the salon kit.
Okay.
Yeah, then now this is the where now the story started now again, because after I had the discussion, Mama accepted. They sell the salon kit, they buy the chemicals for the plants. Then later on, Mama was to be compensated, and she was even to be given bus fare, which never came to pass. To go back to Nairobi.
Okay.
This never came to pass. So we continued like that. I remember very well that during plantation, cultivation, they were at peace, with a lot of peace at home.
Right.
But when it came to harvesting, issues started. And I remember very well because I used even to go to the farm, because they used to farm in the forest.
Yeah.
So we had quite a number of land. So Baba, my father actually was a renowned farmer. So I remember one day they were going to harvest, and Mama was not told that evening that she was beaten badly, and she ran away for her life. And then the following day, my dad had already made arrangement to go, and maybe do the harvest.
Yeah.
So being brought in such an environment, we stayed until the year 2003. This is when now they separated. But they kept on separating, then they come back together. They separate, then they come back together, quite a while. But I can tell you the truth, even our viewers, that from the year 2003, my life was like in a mess.
Yeah.
Remember, this is I was a teenager.
Yes.
2003, I was 13 years. So at this age, my brothers were, now we had other children.
Right.
And life was not easy because you can imagine we left Nanyuki with nothing. Now we've gone to Mama's, the original home for my mother. We are going to start a zero life. We have nothing at all. Do you know even a 3 square meal was a problem?
Wow.
It was a big problem. And for real, I remember because I joined primary school in Meru. I used to go picking the chewed sugar canes, you know, the leftovers, and even the avocados that have fallen maybe to the tea plantation, and carry it for lunch.
Wow.
And when I carried that, because Mama could not, you know, she didn't have a job, and now I could carry, and then during lunchtime I could just go and hide myself in the coffee plantation,
okay,
and take the things that I had carried.
Now you're saying that your dad was a renowned farmer,
yeah.
So that means he was doing well,
absolutely,
as a farmer.
Absolutely.
So how did it affect you knowing that your dad could, you know, support your family better, but wasn't? Was it that he was choosing not to, or was there a problem that was making him not to?
There was a very big problem because all the money he got, remember that those days, I remember 1,000 bob was valuable,
yes.
Had a lot of value.
Yes.
So it affected my psychology as a child, and this is the time later on I came to realize the effect that the domestic violence have to the children.
Sure.
So me, I used to wonder so much, why is that my father has a lot of money, but we are living in a muddy house? Those people with little money could at least live a comfortable life. Their children used to go to school with a good uniform. They had issues, but for me it was the vice versa. So, but he was used to drink a lot. Okay. So that used to, it abused my psychology so much. Yeah. So I felt actually even neglected. Yeah, I felt neglected because this is not the life I expected us to live. Because being a renowned person, I expected probably would have lived a comfortable life. Yeah. So it never took me well. So now that they have separated, we went back to Meru, and life became so difficult. Right. Because even the little vibaruas Mama used to do in Nanyuki, making hair, this one was no more. Okay. So in Meru, vibaruas are rare. So, and I remember to some point, people felt like we have come now to grab their lad. Oh. So there was that kind of a discrimination. They could not even assist. Yeah. Yeah. You see, now we are boys. Yes. So, and we could eat a lot. Yes. So we could even go to their farm and pick mapera, avocados, and macadamia. So they felt like teenagers now. Yes, we are teenagers. So you see those behaviors of teenagers, and then we are also hungry, mangoes, and so on. So they put a lot of pressure to Mama and our family. And Mom had now to leave me again and go back to Nanyuki with my younger brothers. Right. So we were left again with my grandmother, and this time around life also became so tough, very, very tough. Because now that was from 2003 to around 2006 when I completed my class 8. Right. So all along I was just a sober child. But since 2003... And sorry to interrupt you, but did all this affect your performance in school? Absolutely. Yeah. Before we left Nanyuki, I'd never actually believed that anyone was to be number 1. That was my position. Oh. And in case anyone became number 2 or 3, everybody could know in the school because of the cry. I could cry in the school. Wow. So, but now things changed because even school fees became a problem. Okay. I found myself many other times I'm not attending classes. Right. I'm left to take care of my siblings. So it affected my performance badly, and I dropped tremendously. So you see now the effect of even domestic abuse.
Yes.
It affected my performance. So even going back to school again and start afresh, it took me a lot of courage. Until 2000, and remember now they have separated 2003. But there was something that was happening to my health, which was not noticed. Okay. Remember at that time I was a teenage. And from 2003, once now grandma, remember now Mama left now to Nanyuki again the year 2000, around 2005. And then we were left again with the shush. And life became a bit also difficult. Right. My health is disturbing. And she's older. And she is older. And then I remember she used to take me to hospital because I had sores. I couldn't even wear closed shoes. On your feet? On my feet. Because once I was maybe had a jigger. And it maybe after getting removed the jigger itself, my legs used to even like rot. Oh, my so the fingers. Wound would just fester, it wouldn't heal like... Yes, it wouldn't heal. So grandma used to took me to one of the facilities, and the doctors purported that maybe I was almost suffering from diabetes. Okay. So the doctors... Because of your feet being affected. Yeah, and the sores that I had all over the body was used to, scratch my... I had skin disease. Okay. So the doctor now advised not to be taking sugary stuff. And you can imagine, we adhered to that. Yes. But little did we know that something big was coming, would come to burst after that. All this time, remember, with no one, my father, by the time we left, he had sold all that he had and left for another place. Okay. So even the time Mama went there, she was a bit safe. But that used to worry me a lot, because I didn't know whether Mama was safe. Okay, yes. So it used also to affect me a lot. So 2006, by the grace of God, I finished my KCPE. And after finishing my KCPE, now I was to be the transition from one stage of life to the next. So my uncles hesitated to take me for initiation, for circumcision rather. Come. Yeah. So they said it's only you have to now to go to your father's side, ask for permission, the traditional way. The same father who's missing in action. The father who is missing in action. Yeah. So we had no otherwise than make arrangement, and she took me to my mother. Okay. And immediately, Mama went. We made arrangement, and I got circumcised. But while I was through the process of healing, my health deteriorated. Okay. That is now when my health started to deteriorate. Because even by the time I was coming out of the house, I was emaciated. Oh no! I didn't have energy. I could not, walk with the strength. Yes. But no one knew what I was going through. Right. Even myself, I never knew what I was going through. And now, 2007, I joined Form 1 in a local school because that is what we could afford. Right. But now the whole month of December 2006, I used to go to Vibaruas at least to buy myself a school uniform. Wow. And get some few books. And Mama at least would be supported by the villagers to raise my little school fees by then. Right. So this time around, we've started the Vibaruas, and I have already joined Form 1. Do you know now my health started now again worsening because I could not walk with the other young people. I could always be left behind. Oh. And when they go to the playground, I used just to sleep. I just felt like sleeping. You were weak. I am just a weak child. So one day I told Mama, my health is bad. Yes. And we need to seek for medical attention. So we went to one of the hospitals in Nanyuki, where I was diagnosed. I was done through several tests. And I remember one day Mama saw some a container with medication for which was written meningitis. Yes. Mama worried a lot because...
This is the medication you had been given?
Yes, and Mama was not told.
Yeah, okay.
So then, because we were going for checkup the next day, she went and asked Doctor, why are you giving my child medication for meningitis?
Yeah.
Is he suffering from meningitis? I think Mama knew something little about meningitis and what it could do to one's life.
Right.
So the doctor told her that they were just suspecting I was suffering from meningitis.
Wow, they weren't sure.
Yeah, they weren't sure. But once I took that medication, I had severe headache.
Wow.
That is the time I can remember I had severe headache. You see, people talk of headache, but that was a bad headache.
Okay.
So now the doctor again advised that he would want to advise me to go for further checkup. So that they can diagnose everything that is eating me up. My cure had already now dropped from school.
Yeah, because of your ill health.
Yeah, because of my ill health. So I was taken for an X-ray because of my chest. I could not walk a long distance. I could not do heavy tasks. And remember, I'm just young, I'm 17 years, I'm just prime.
You're supposed to be very strong.
Absolutely. Yeah. So when the sputum was taken, it turned negative. Then the doctor...
For meningitis?
No, this one was now to check for tuberculosis.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, the sputum. It turned negative. The doctor advised that now we need to take an X-ray, which was done, and it turned reactive.
Okay.
So that means immediately I was to be enrolled for medication, for tuberculosis medication.
Yeah.
Which is started.
So you get off the meningitis medication and immediately onto TB medication.
I'm taking both of them.
Wow, both.
Yeah, I'm taking both.
Are they still not sure if you have meningitis, or they're just crossing their fingers hoping they'll catch?
They were not sure. Okay. They are not sure whether I was still having meningitis.
Right.
But after a week, this is around the month of March, my health worsened and worsened kabisa.
Okay.
So up now, I remember I was taken to hospital one evening because I had collapsed.
Right.
And because of the test that were taken, I think 3 days ago, and I was to go to now for the next month checkup, the files, now already the results were out.
Right.
And do you know, surprisingly and shockingly, because I have never been traumatized like as such, the doctor said that, do you know, Ezekiel, you're HIV positive.
What?
Yes.
What went through your mind at this point?
Well, I remember I told the doctor, you are the one who is sick, and I collapsed.
You were in denial at this point.
It's a terrible one, because remember, I have not been taken through counseling.
Counseling, yes.
And again, I had seen several people in the village who were told of the story.
Yes.
And in Makiu, those days, people used to fear people with that condition.
Yes, yes. And it was associated with the morality.
That is it.
Yes.
And for me, I knew that I was an innocent child.
Yeah.
I didn't even have a girlfriend. Sikuwa na yeye. And then this is a condition that has been posed to me. And I've not gone through counseling.
Yes, so you don't understand how
I never understood. Yes, and again, I never knew so much about child to mother-to-child transmission.
Yes.
So I collapsed, I fainted, and because it was around 6 in the evening, I found myself in the ward. Okay. At around 7.
They admitted you?
Yes, I'm already admitted because I have collapsed.
Okay, okay.
And from then it was, now I stayed there till the month of December 2007, hospitalized.
On your TB medication?
On my TB medication. And the retrovirus had to be administered right away because after the CD4 count was taken, actually I had only, I think, 1824 CD4 count, which is supposed to be 1,500 and above.
Yes. So basically, you are at 0, essentially.
Absolutely.
Yes.
This one actually, to the practitioners, they say that one is a stage 4. And now the doctors did a test for meningitis. There's a test one is, there's some water one is taken from the backbone. Very painful one.
Yes.
So the doctor tested and I turned positive
for the
meningitis.
Okay.
Hey, this one was tough. Remember, Mama is just a peasant farmer.
Yeah.
And we have siblings. And we are here medication for meningitis is very expensive.
Yeah.
And mom doesn't have anything at all. I remember mama crying to the doctor. But Makiu, this was after, you know, now I found myself in the ward. I wondered, where am I? Where am I? It is at night I'm in the hospital. Mom is nowhere to be found. Now when she came the following day, she told me, now you have to remain here so that the doctor can take care of your health.
Okay. Now I'm going to interrupt you just a bit. On the other side of this break, we're going to go into how you lost your vision and how you had to cope with that reality that you are HIV positive. Now, let's take that break. We'll come back with more on Beyond the Scars.